Good to see you back here for the second part of my conversation with Mike Baronian, the CEO of AZAD Pharmaceuticals, based here in Switzerland. We continue to discuss what about the vaccines, what about the rollout and the logistics of it, and hopefully get some answers. What could have been done better or could be done better going forward?
No, I think it's a very dangerous thing for any country to try and make it mandatory because I think the repercussions to that throughout the system, not only because of this pandemic, but just everyday life will be affected tremendously. And I don't think we want to do that.
A couple of questions there with the vaccinations themselves, because there was this huge ethical debate whether or not to make the COVID-19 vaccination actually mandatory, so dictated by law or not. And, you know, the ethics Rat in Germany said, no, absolutely not. People should be able to decide themselves. How do you stand on that question? Should it be something that is mandatory considering we do have a global pandemic, or should we all just say, hey, if you like to, do it?
It's a tough question because I think if you start doing that, then you know, you open up Pandora's box. Because as soon as you open up that issue and say this is mandatory and compulsory for everyone, then how about the other vaccinations that we have? I mean, there are a lot of mothers and fathers, for that matter, don't want to vaccinate their children today. A very risky position that they take, and in my opinion, a very wrong one, but they do. And so what's going to happen to that? So I think it's a very dangerous thing for any country to try and make it mandatory because I think the repercussions to that throughout the system, not only because of this pandemic, but just everyday life will be affected tremendously. And I don't think we want to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there. And then I find myself in the situation, I'm not somebody that gets the flu shot, the vaccine at all. Never done it. I was always against it. My husband on the other side, he does it every year. We both had COVID at the beginning of last year. So we were one of the early ones because we traveled so much. So in January 2020, we fell sick and only found out in May of last year that we actually had it because we did the antibody test and we both showed positive on the antibody test, which was an interesting one. But if I think about it, I had COVID and the actual trajectory of the ailment was not easy, okay? And I'm a fairly healthy person. I look after myself, but it wasn't easy. My husband, quite a bit older than me, and let's put it this way, not living as healthily as myself, it was much easier on him. And we suspected that potentially the flu shot he had only a few weeks earlier could have helped to this. My question here is, now, I will now get vaccinated, but not necessarily because I believe in the vaccination per se. I believe I do it for humanity. And I believe that if I want my life back the way I had it pre-COVID, as much as I can, I need to vaccinate because there will be airlines that won't let me in. There will be countries that won't let me in. There will be hotels and restaurants that won't let me in unless I'm going to show them digitally, hey, I am okay. And I know I'm going to enter into an ambiance with people that are also vaccinated and okay. So isn't that kind of mandatory from the back door, just driven not from the public sector, but the private sector?
Okay, it's a good point. But I think that's the way it should work. I mean, obviously the restaurant owner or the airline organization is simply exercising their right. I mean, they don't want someone that's infected to infect a number of their passengers, and then they would get sued if, God forbid, one or two of them pass. And the same thing with the restaurant owner. And I think that's exercising their right, which is, I think, the same issue as exercising your right, whether you want to be vaccinated or not. And to try and tamper with that, I think is a very, very dangerous thing to do.
Let me quickly interrupt the conversation to say thank you that you're here with me on the channel. If you do enjoy what I'm putting out, the in-depth kind of conversations, then why don't you subscribe and also hit the bell button so I can keep you informed with our newest releases. Thanks for that in advance, and let's get back to the conversation. No, I think you're spot on. You're spot on. It's all our choices, and you want to do it, do it. And I would also, if I had a restaurant, I would definitely make a distinction. And then, of course, the ethical issue is, well, it's your choice. If you want to be in my restaurant, get the vaccination, and then you are free.
Correct.
If not, then there is a restaurant that might let you in. Another issue I wanted to talk to you about, Mike, about the variations. I mean, you do produce also pharmaceuticals, the variants, the mutants of this virus. How alarmed are you, let's say, by the B1171 that seems to be spreading faster but not as harshly on the body? How are we supposed to take this, and how does that really fall into place with the vaccination process we just talked about?
Well, first of all, I think you have to remember that the normal yearly flu that we experience is also the same family, okay, same COVID family, okay? And so, to me, mutations is a very normal part of a virus. I mean, a virus's aim is to survive, and they will find ways to try and survive, and that's what they do. Sure, we do have variants. We've had it in the UK, we've had it in South Africa, and Brazil now. In general, I would say that if we are being vaccinated and we have the antibodies for a specific virus, and it's in the same family, I cannot imagine that any variant it's going to be, the vaccines will be effective against the variant, but maybe not at 95%, but at a certain percentage. I don't know whether it's 30 or 50 or 60. So therefore, the people might get infected, but the outcome might not be as severe. So what I would say, and I said the same thing a while ago for a lot of people, such as yourself, that don't take the flu shot, is that they should take the flu shot, even though they might take the vaccine again for the COVID-19, because I believe that that's just adding to the armaments that we have in our body. So yeah, sure, it is. I think it's par for the course. I mean, anyone that thinks that the viruses will stay the same doesn't really understand viruses. Viruses always mutate.
Yeah, they mutate to just be able to log on to the cells in the body in the best way.
But they want to survive. They want to survive.
They're ahead of the curve. That is absolutely it. So what about the lockdown strategy? Is that really viable? I mean, we are seeing now, I think last week, the COVID cases globally is down by 16% on a week-to-week comparison. So do lockdowns work, you think?
I believe they do. But I believe that the masks and hand washing and distancing, physical distancing is what matters the most. But at the same time, I think it doesn't really block the virus. It just, the spread is going to be slowed. And because our hospitals cannot deal with it. This is something that I think is, as we've seen it in the United States, whether it was New York or we've seen it in Wuhan, where it started. We see it today in Brazil, in Mexico. We don't have the capacity to deal with the sick. So therefore, what we want to do, or at least what this does, in terms of lockdowns and everything else, is slows the progression of the disease, so that if people get sick, we have the capacity to deal with them in our hospitals. I mean, it doesn't do anything else than that, because the virus is going to play out, its course. It's going to happen. I mean, you cannot stop it. You just can't. You can slow it down, but you cannot stop it.
I'm so with you there, Mike. And that was really something that I was quite annoyed about earlier on when the lockdown came, because we don't have the capacity of hospitals or just the healthcare system. I'm just thinking, hey guys, what about our tax money? Where did you put it? If not, in the healthcare system in a substantial way, because this is in times of a pandemic, which a lot of experts have already been talking about for years, and especially after the Chinese flu and the avian flu, that this is going to come. It's going to come like a tsunami. It's going to come bigger. So please provide. Nothing has been done. So looking at, and I'm coming from the economic side. I'm not a doctor, and I am, I see both sides. But when I see, the slow death of what's happening potentially to our economy, compared to the potential that it wasn't even needed if the healthcare system had been a little bit more subsidized, a little bit stronger, and kind of taking the experts seriously that a pandemic is about to hit.
Well, we can discuss that for a long time. It's difficult because if you build excess capacity in case of, in the eventuality that we will use it, that's a hell of a burden on a country. I would have preferred, I think, an easier way to have dealt with this peak that we have hit in our healthcare facilities. It would be, in terms of sick patients, I would have again incorporated the military. This is an emergency that a military is trained for. And in some countries, you're right, they have done it, and maybe bits and pieces of it, but not as a main thrust. I have never seen, even in the United States, a military man in any of those conferences that took place, and I think it's so silly, because these military people are trained for that. This is some of them are 60, 70 years old, their whole lives. And they would have added a lot of value, in my opinion. So to make it short, I don't think I would have built extra capacity in the eventuality that we would need it. I would have incorporated the military might. I think they would have made a big difference.
That's an interesting one, because I talk to a lot of, business leaders, CEOs out there, and they are moving from the way of manufacturing from just in time, JIT, to just in case. Okay, so JIC, because they say that we have a world now, a new normal, that you have to really do your risk management at a level. Either you have the fantastic data predicting you really almost real time what you should be doing in terms of your business to adjust to changes, but you do have to spend on the just in case.
You have to be able to afford it to spend it.
Very, very, very true. Okay, in order to wrap up our conversation, Mike, if I may, a couple of things. What are the key mistakes you can see in hindsight that have been done in terms of handling this crisis? And also, what would you suggest would have been a better way?
Well, I think first of all, I told you before, in my opinion, the U.S. has done the right thing. I don't think Europe has followed suit. I don't remember too many governments, including ours, that has plucked down and put on the table billions of dollars. We're spending the money in supply now, but I don't remember us taking a risk and putting 20 or 5 billion or 10 billion, and to make sure that neither Novartis nor Roche are in it, of course, but Roche in the diagnostic side. But I don't remember us doing that in Europe. So I think in a way, I would have expected Europe to have done the same as what the Americans have done, which I applaud. So I would have done that differently. In terms of the implementation or the development, and so I have nothing but praise for what they have done. Well, really, there's nothing I can change. I haven't seen anything there that we've done in the industry that is beyond just excellent. On the manufacturing side, you're right. I think we have capacity issues and some bottlenecks. And in the old days, a lot of these countries had their own vaccine manufacturing. Okay, and because it was a national issue, and maybe we should revisit that. Okay, we should revisit the fact that each country would say, no, wait a second, we have an issue in here, and we've learned from it, or we got to learn from it, and we have to secure our own capacity. So I would expect that, and also including us here in Switzerland, I would expect that a lot of countries will all of a sudden resurrect that issue of saying we want to have our own.
I think this is so spot on. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Dr. Axel Müller. I don't know if you know him. He's the CEO representing really the Association of the Generic Pharmaceutical Industry. And he said,
I know Axel.
You know Axel. Okay, so Axel just said, we need to repatriate. It does cost a little bit more. Yes, the drugs will be a little bit more expensive, but we cannot depend on countries such as China, especially in a situation like that, that might be happening again, on the supply of the ingredients or the drugs themselves. We have to try to repatriate, and he's, I think, very much lobbying for that.
Okay. Well, I think we have to. Yeah, I think the governments have to deal with that. I think, and I'm sure the government will, because it's a major issue.
The last one for today, Mike, and then I'll let you off, is about the new normal. Everybody says that there's going to be a post-COVID world, if you can say that way. What is the new normal going forward, you think? What do you expect?
Well, it's difficult to tell, but if this is the new normal, I don't like it.
Give me 5.
Okay. I certainly don't like it, but no, look, mankind will survive. I think we will find ways, and I think we will do it better next time. And I don't think this is a new normal. No, I think we will beat it, and we will go back to the way we did things before. To move about freely and do things and socialize and do everything else that we're used to as human beings. I mean, that's us,
Yeah.
So no, I think mankind will beat it. I think we will find ways to do that. I have no doubt.
I love that, Mike. I'm so with you there. Let's hope really that what you're saying is coming true. I also miss my old life, pre-COVID life. I miss the hugging without thinking. I miss the, closeness. What? We are social animals, we like to rub shoulders, we like to be together, huddle up, fight, whatever it is, but just be in interaction, and not only to wonderful technology that we are using right now, but still, I agree. Thank you.
Correct. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Absolutely fabulous, Mike Baronian. And thank you, my dear Mentoring TV community, for having joined us yet again for a fascinating conversation, this time with Mike Baronian, the CEO of AZAD Pharmaceuticals. See you soon. Bye.